Depending on who you ask, it is the eve of freedom or the eve of terror. Just hours from now, thousands upon thousands will gather in the streets for the nationwide No Kings protests. Organizers say that they're speaking out against Donald Trump and his abuse of power. Republicans are framing it quite differently.
We're going to bring together the Marxists, the socialists, the Antifa advocates, the anarchists, and the pro-Hamas wing of the far-left Democrat Party. That is the modern Democratic Party. That's where they've gone. And the Hate America rally is the common theme among all those groups.
Now, these protests come at an interesting time. The government is still shut down, 3 weeks now. Both sides aren't even talking, and now top Democrats are going after Caroline Leavitt for some extreme accusations that she leveled against the party's base.
The Democrat Party's main constituency are made up of Hamas terrorists, illegal aliens, and violent criminals. That is who the Democrat Party is catering to. They don't stand for anything except for catering to their far-left base, which, as I said, includes anti-Semites, includes Hamas terrorists, illegal aliens, and violent criminals who they want to let off freely to roam in American streets.
Caroline Leavitt is a complete and total disgrace. She continues to embarrass herself. It gets worse every time she opens her mouth. She's lying about something. And of course she's lying about the patriotic Americans who are going to exercise their First Amendment rights to petition the government and express themselves and gather in a peaceful assembly.
Now, Ashley, I don't know why Republicans are so exercised about this protest tomorrow compared to the last time that it was happening. But could it be the sense that there is more momentum this time around than there was the last time? I mean, what's your sense of how much energy there is and how many people we might see tomorrow?
I think there's going to be millions of Americans and people protesting tomorrow to protect our democracy. I think that the reason why Republicans are paying attention now is because the last time the No Kings protest took place, it was on Donald Trump's birthday, and he thought millions of people were going to show up for that, and they didn't, and instead they showed up for protests that day. And so now he's like, maybe I'm not as popular as I think. But for Republicans, what I would argue is that you should want millions of people to go out into the streets. You should want millions of people to be able to peacefully protest, because that is the perfect counterpoint you can say to me when I say I think our democracy is under attack with authoritarian regimes. What you shouldn't do is call us Marxists or socialists, or you can be whatever you want in America. That's the beauty of a democracy. And I swear, I really do. I thought a couple weeks ago we said we were going to take the temperature down. Protesting peacefully in the street is taking the temperature down. Calling people Hamas sympathizers, socialists, all the other terrible things they've said, that is not what that does.
Yeah, whatever happened to that, Lance?
Who are the sponsors?
The idea, whatever happened to the fact that literally just a few weeks ago, the idea was, let's take the temperature down. Let's not call each other these things that make this seem like some kind of existential struggle. What happened to that?
Who are the sponsors of this event tomorrow? Let's say Indivisible. The leading defund the police organization in this country. Jewish Voice
Indivisible is not the leading defund the police. That is like
100%
factually incorrect.
They were for years to defund the police.
No, they weren't. That's
Jewish
wrong.
Voice
Check
for
your
Peace
source.
is a Hamas sympathetic group. They pal around with Students for Justice for Palestine, another Hamas funded organization.
They're not the lead
These are the organizations. George Soros funded organizations. They're the most radical left-wing groups that are sponsoring.
Are you arguing that those organizations are single-handedly going to bring millions of people in the streets? We're talking 2,500 different plans and events for protests. I mean, is that the argument here? And the second part of the argument, my question to you is, are you arguing that if groups are funding protests that they shouldn't be allowed to happen?
Anybody can go protest. No, absolutely not. Anybody can go protest what they want. But you played clips of members of Congress talking about this event. I think it is worth noting who is sponsoring this event. Defund the police type people, Hamas sympathizers. That's what these groups stand for.
And not to mention the Communist Party it's on the poster here in New York City.
Thank you.
I mean, you've got boomer cranks. They've been protesting every day. Cranky commies, Antifa people. I mean, what they're saying is true. A lot of the people with these sympathies are going to be at these events. I'm sure there'll be some peaceful protesters there. I hope there's no violence. But given what we've seen in cities around America, it is highly likely we're going to see
Where?
violent
When?
elements.
I would like to say that I want to get to the press secretary's comments about the base of the party. I've voted in every Democratic primary since I was old enough to vote. I'm considered the base of the party. I was a union member. I grew up in a trailer house in East Texas. I went home last weekend, and I took my wife home to East Texas, and I went to a Baptist church where I was saved and baptized. I'm the base of the party. I went to a high school football game where I was an all-state football player. I'm the base of the party. And then I went by the factory that had been shut down because my job was moved overseas. I'm the base of the Democratic Party, not these other folks.
Andy Kim, the senator, compared Speaker Johnson's comments about these protests to what was said about the March on Washington of 1963 by George Wallace. He said, segregationist George Wallace said about the March on Washington, I do think the march under the leadership of men who are in the Communist Party and have been is not good for the country. Citizens being used by communists to disrupt and destroy internal peace. That's the comparison that he's making.
Well, look, I mean, if Democrats want to embrace having the Communist Party here in New York City sponsor this rally, you know, be my guest, respectfully, and I hear what you're saying, but where is the energy in the Democratic Party? You see energy around protecting illegal populations. You see it every day. Energy around criminals, violent criminals. I mean, Democratic officials all over this country have worked very hard to let violent criminals out on the streets. Where is the lie in what is being said by Caroline Leavitt? This is where the energy is on the left.
The energy,
violent, illegal aliens, violent criminals, that's the energy. That's what you see.
The energy is behind protecting people's rights. It's behind not having citizens citizens, Americans.
What about illegal aliens being rounded up by ICE?
Many Democrats have said we got the immigration issue wrong and we need to fix it. Perhaps maybe in Congress, but we know that won't happen because they aren't even working right now. But people are protesting Americans being zip-tied, being detained without having their rights protected. I'm not saying that is not that is not the Democratic Party saying that let all illegal people or criminals run free. That is not what the Democratic Party is saying.
Those are the policies. Those are your.
No, they are not.
I mean, you have prosecutors and judges all over this country that have let violent criminal after violent criminal out on the streets, and then what do? They commit other violent crimes in city after city after city.
What does that have to do with people exercising their rights to protest? I really want to understand. I mean, there are going to be millions of people probably out on the streets all over the country. And many of those people are, you know, your neighbors, perhaps some of your friends. They're regular Americans that have constitutional rights, that have voting rights like everybody else. Why is it that there is this idea that guilt by association should be applied to them when they just want to go out and protest against a political administration that they disagree with?
I have no problem with people protesting peacefully. They have every right to do that. I do think it's legitimate.
Why demonize them?
Because I think it's a legitimate political debate about what they're protesting for.
I mean, look, listen, if every time, I mean, and this does happen on the right, on the left to some extent. So, conservatives get mad when Democrats say, oh, you guys are palling around with white supremacists and racists and so on and so forth. Charlottesville, a great example.
Or the group chat.
Yeah, the group chat.
This week.
January 6th, all of that. Everybody painted with the same brush, and you all were opposed and upset about that. Why are you applying then that same thing in this situation?
Again, if they want to protest peacefully, that's perfectly fine. It is perfectly legitimate political debate for Republicans to say, what exactly are they protesting? They are mad that Donald Trump is enforcing federal immigration law. They are mad that he is lawfully exercising the powers of the presidency. And they are fighting for policies that Republicans fundamentally believe are bad for the country.
I do think they disagree with all of the things that you just said. They disagree. You characterize those things as lawful, and they disagree, and they're expressing their disagreement. But I want to play this from Amy Coney Barrett, the Supreme Court Justice. She's spoken with a New York Times columnist about some of these concerns about President Trump's use of his presidential power. Her answer on the Supreme Court's role in all of this, you might find surprising.
Where it's very easy to imagine from either the left or the right, some present or future president deciding to test the court, Andrew Jackson style, saying, interesting ruling, Justice Barrett, good luck enforcing it. If a president defied the Supreme Court, what would you do?
Well, as you say, the court lacks the power of the purse. We lack the power of the sword. And so we interpret the Constitution, we draw in precedents, we have these questions of structure, and, we make the most with the tools that we have.
I watched that today when we sent it around, and I had not seen it previously. And it's funny that we picked this piece because it was the part that stuck out to me the most, and it kind of shook me. She was like, we ain't in charge of the money. We ain't in charge of having a sword. She used the word sword, and then she was like, I don't know what they could be doing because we just do the Constitution. That's what we do, and kind of just pivoted. And I was like, oh, my God.